So good morning, everybody, and happy to see the full room here this morning to discuss about the future of manufacturing, to discuss what we need to do. Is it clear that we are coming from a period where a lot of disruptive events have been happening? We know the pandemic, we know that there are wars close to this country and close to Europe. There have been many other events like the increase of the gas prices, the oil, the shortage of resources, material, critical material. And all of this, of course, is creating doubts, is creating fears in the people, in the citizen, and in the consumer. We were coming from a period of more than 20 years where globalization was something which was giving us a mindset that everything was going fine, everything was going well. The logistics, the global logistics was the backbone of the world and was a very reliable backbone. And all of these were creating, let me say, a quite relaxed environment. This is not true anymore. And, but you know, as always, we need to start from where we are, from the as-is situation, and try to see what should be the next step. And let me say, this is exactly the reason of the World Manufacturing Foundation, to try to see the opportunities which we should expect in the future and try to give suggestions to the policymakers, to industries, to the research, to the innovation environment. And we do this with the report. This is not the, we have already published 5 reports. This is the last one you have in your bag. And here you see, and I hope you will see the answer to some of the questions that we have when we came here this morning. The first one was about the global manufacturing. This was in 2018. Then we went to discuss about skills, shortage of skills, what kind of skills manufacturing requires. This was in 2019. And then we went to one of the most important technologies that we are using today, which we still need to discover, is artificial intelligence in 2020. And then sustainability. Digital technologies are the stronger enabler of a green manufacturing, and that's what was the focus of last year. But then we came to the topic of this year, the redesigning of global supply chain. But first, we need to understand why we have decided to tackle with this topic, to address this topic. What are our expectations, what are the expectations of our partners and in general from the industrial representatives from all over the Europe. We need to understand what are the global megatrends, and this is what we did in the first chapter, to see how they are affecting our economy. And then we went into the deep discussion on how supply chains are affected by these global economical, social, environmental megatrends. And then, as usually, we try to derive with all our experts. We have been interviewing and discussing with more than 50 experts from all over the world, different topics, different areas, different sectors. What are the so-called 10 key recommendations, which is, let me say, the main output of our annual exercises. Why we are here discussing about manufacturing? Let's remind it, because I think this is always important to see and to remind us, and to, in general, to the general audience, to the politicians, to the policymakers, to the stakeholders, the importance of manufacturing. 17% of the global GDP is produced by manufacturing, but this is only done with 13.6% of the workers all over the world. You see here that where productivity comes from. With less people, we are able to produce more added value at the global level. But if you go to trades, you see that 71% of the global trades is done by manufacturing. So you see the importance of manufacturing in terms of keeping our global economy running. I think this is the starting point. This should be the starting point of our work, our job every morning in order to remind us what is the importance of manufacturing. What we did, we had to create our scenario. We had to create and try to understand what is going to happen. I'm very happy that Mr. Chu addressed some trends from the perspective of the UNIDO. Some of them are there, but here you have a more detailed understanding. We have identified 10 megatrends. Let's see one by one in order to set the environment and set our mindset First, we know the global economy is slowing down. That's a fact. Some areas in the world are slowing down more, and some areas are slowing down less. If you go to the sub-Saharan Africa, you see that this is affected less by this slowdown, and I think we need to keep an eye on what is going and what will happen in that particular area. You see also that the emerging and developing Asia is slowing down a little bit, but not as other areas, other continent in the world. You see the United States, you see the Euro area, which are going to be affected, and this is an average, this is a mean. Some countries will be or are supposed to go into recession in 2023, or with an expectation in 2024 to have our economy to be relaunched. Inflation, it's something that we forgot. That is an economic, let me say, phenomena. I asked to my daughter, she's 19 years old, do you know what inflation is? And she answered, yes, I study at the school, at the university, but she never experienced it. And that means that consumer, teenager, young people are not used to deal with that and adjust their consumer behavior to this new phenomenon. We still need to understand what is going to happen and how this is going to affect our behavior and consumer behavior. And here you see that the emerging market and developing economy will be affected more by this than the advanced economies, but in general, all of the global economies will be affected there. If you look at the fact that when you have a rise in inflation, this is happening very quickly, few months, few years, but in order to recover, you need many more years, and this is something that we need to consider in our long-term scenario. The labor market. You see that all of these four trends, this is the low income, low middle income, upper middle income, and high income, all of them are below zero in the future. That means that we have less working hours year by year, and but it's important to note that the black line here, which is outlining the high income, is going to have a less decrease than the low income. That means that we will face more and more a detach between the high income and the poor people and the poor income. And this, I think, should be considered in our geopolitical understanding. Contribution to the global trades. That was, of course, 2021 was a recap from the 2020, but you see that there is a less, trades in 2022 this year, and the expectation in 2023. And this will have an impact, of course, on how we should redesign supply chain. If we have less trades, we need to redesign supply chains. This is really interesting. This drew my attention. I think this is we should be worried about this. Look at the consumer confidence is lower than the pandemic. Okay, consumers are really fearing the future, and if a consumer doesn't consume, that means that the overall economy is going to stop. This needs to be taken into consideration. You know that psychological effects have much more impact on the global economy. Export and goods and services, of course, this is showing the globalization. You see how the rise from the 1990, that means the globalization. If you have an increase, means globalization, but now this is going down. So we are going from an hyper-globalization, which means that you can order any product with any configuration exactly as you like it from any country in the world and get it exactly delivered where you want. That's globalization, but this is, I think it's going to be over. This is our starting point. If globalization is over, how we should redesign supply chain. This is exactly the reason why and the focus of the topic this year. So we call it globalization, okay? A kind of new buzzword, just to give an idea that there is or there will be a slowdown in this dimension. Sustainability is an important issue. We just put a figure here, an index here, but look at this one. That's also very important. The yellow line is showing us the number of harmful trade interventions that countries, policymakers are doing in order to protect their own country. You know that nationalism, protectionism, is not good for the global economy. You see how this is raised in the last 2 years. That means that countries, politicians, governments are trying to put, defenses to defend their own economy. The question we have is this good for those countries itself? Is we are going to close our borders, not talking about people, I'm talking about trades. Is this something that at the end will be beneficial for the global economy and for the local economy of this country? I think this is not the right way to do. But this is happening, and of course this needs to be taken into consideration when we are considering the future. People and consumer. Online channels, this is what we learned during the pandemic. Metaverse, we still have to understand how this is going to impact our way of buying products. Green activism and low carbon lifestyle, this is good for the environment, and this is especially true for teenagers. We used to refer to them to digital natives. I think we should call them sustainable natives, right? Where this focus is much more important. Support of local products and services, this kind of, also trying to through economy. And then people and job market and skills. I was discussing this with some of you before we started this morning. I think that people, skills, this is going to be the real critical raw material in the near future. Once this issue of price of gases, energy, components in 1 or 2 years will be settled down again, we will still have one critical raw material that will be people. You can redesign supply chain in 1, 2, 3 years. In order to create people, you need much more years, 5 years to create a graduate person, and this is going, I think, something that we need to try to anticipate. Those were the megatrends. If we take them and try to put them in the manufacturing sectors, what is going to be the challenges that our manufacturing sector is going to face? First, of course, some of them are well known, right? But we need to remind them. Limited availability and critical raw materials. This is still there. Employee and workforce shortages. We just discussed it. Limited availability of suppliers. That's when we is the starting point to start to redesign our supply chain. A skill crisis is not only a matter of people, it's a matter of what kind of skills we need to provide to those people. And it's not only a matter of quantity of people, it's also a matter of quality of the know-how that these people should have. IT in the sense of cyber tech, that the manufacturing sector, this is not well known, but the manufacturing sector is the industry which is suffering more cyber attacks than any other sectors, right? And most of the time this is not communicated because company doesn't want to share that they were attacked, but this is happening. And then, and I'm happy that Mr. Chu also addressed this topic of digital technologies. This is very important. Digital technology is not only the backbone, is not only the technology, it's the enabler of the future and the redesign. Data exchange are very important. We have someone from the European Commission here, which is issuing recently a document on how data should be managed, and the importance of data and skills is also relevant for the future. These challenges are forcing us to redesign our supply chain. But anytime you design something, you need to ask yourself, what are my goals? Where is the direction? These are the 6 goals, the 6 directions that we come up with our expert and with the editorial board. Let me take the chance to thank some of them who are sitting here. First, manufacturing should be cognitive, based on data, based on understanding what is happening. Circularity, of course, sustainability is there. It should be there. Global risk resilient. If the world is going to change faster and faster, we don't need to design something which is stuck there. We cannot change. We should design something which is easy to be adapted. Hyper-personalized manufacturing. I want to choose exactly my pair of shoes, my cars. I want to design my product as a customer. Rapidly responsive. It means that if I order something today, I want to receive it in less than 24 hours in my home. It should be fast and quick. And then inclusivity, not only in terms of gender issue, but in terms of any kind of inclusion. Citizens from other countries, any kind of inclusion should be there. All of this in mind, we derived the 10 key recommendations, and let me go through them quickly. I have 9 minutes left, but I will be making it. Number 1, don't panic. Do not overreact. If we go from a full globalized world and we close ourselves back to our country, this is the wrong way to do it. We should, let me say, keep calm, relax, sit down, be pragmatic, and have a longer perspective in redesigning supply chain than just react for the 2023, 2024. Let's have a longer perspective in redesigning supply chain. If we go exactly 180 degrees in the wrong direction, this will be the higher mistake. So please keep this in mind as a criteria. Ensure prudent, clever, entrepreneurial, and proactive redesign supply chain to secure critical supply. Look where are your more critical supply. Look where are your suppliers. Avoid to create regions close in your country, and do not keep the continuity of the supply chain. You should shorten the supply chain. Yes, for sure, this is the direction. Have global supply chain always. This is not the right way, but be selective in what should be kept global and what should be, let me say, somehow regionalized. Number 3, we know from lean manufacturing that anytime you redesign your manufacturing system, this is not a one-stop exercise. You should keep doing year by year with a continuous improvement approach. This is exactly what we should learn to do with the supply chain. Whenever you have redesigned it, whenever you have adjusted, the day after, keep on going with the approach of revising it in a continuous improvement approach. Number 4, if we design products first, and without taking into consideration the supply chain that this product should produce, this is not the right way to do it. A waterfall approach in designing product and then designing supply chain is the wrong way. We should design products which will allow later on a flexibility in redesigning in the easiest way the supply chain. Do not put constraints on the product. Do not say, okay, this component should be done with this particular material and should be sourced for this country. In this way, you create constraint later on in the flexibility of the redesigning. We should design product in such a way that are more platform. And therefore, this will not create later on a constraint on the supply chain. Let me say that today we should say that we should design for supply chain redesigning. Design product for supply chain redesigning. Number 5, we have been talking about sustainability. We talk about sustainable natives. I think this is a great opportunity to catch this market. Let's transform this into an opportunity. Instead of seeing sustainability as a constraint, instead of saying, okay, I have my supply chain, this is done, I cannot respond to the demand of sustainability, let's take this as an opportunity. By this disruption that we have to do and to face, we can, through this, take this as an opportunity. I'm sure that after this confusion that we are living in this period, we will be able to design more and more supply chain or sustainable supply chain in order to foster to this. So let me say, I think I see this as an opportunity. Don't forget digital. We talk about digital transparency, IT transparency. You can know today where your component is, when it's supposed to do. Digital technologies are or should be kept more and more into consideration. We know what Industry 4.0 is, but I don't like the term anymore. I know that I've been working with many of you in Industry 4.0. I think we should discuss about supply chain or value chain 4.0. If we focus ourselves in using IT technologies within the factory and not using all of them along the supply chain or across the supply chain, we are not going to exploit the potential of data, of AI, and all the other technologies that are important to be considered there. Number 7, supply chains are made by SMEs. Do not forget them. Unfortunately, most of the time, large multinational companies, they design the product and they design the supply chain, and they gave as granted the fact that there will be somewhere in the world an SME able to produce what they want. I think here now is the time to involve in a sort of co-design of supply chain, the SMEs. We need to involve them, otherwise we will lose them. And once we have lose them, then the whole supply chain will be less efficient than it should be. There is an issue of skills, there is an issue of IT systems, there is an issue of mindset and competences. Number 8. We as manager, we industrial engineers have been used to design supply chain looking at 1 parameter or 2 parameters, right? Delivery on time and cost reduction. This is over. I think we should include in a more multidimensional approach when we consider and try to evaluate what we are redesigning. Geopolitical risk should be included in our criteria. Competences should be included in our criteria. The exercises will be much more complex than it used to be. Cost is important, still remain important, but other dimensions should be included in our decision approach when we redesign supply chain. Number 1, I already said that. Recognize skills gaps, competences as the next critical resources. We need many years to create people. We need many years to create competences. We should look where competences will be. If you speak, and I hope you will have the chance with the young manufacturing leaders who are here, you will see that they feel citizens of the world. They will go where there will be the better offer, where they can find a nice job, a nice city, and the risk is that we create them, we train them, we educate them, and then we lose them. That's something that we need to take into consideration. And then I think consumer should also be involved. If we want a better world, a better society, we should take actions. And now I'm looking more at the national policymakers. Try to push more and more a responsible consumer behavior to reach our sustainability. We always, give the consumer as granted, and the consumer behavior, the willingness of the consumer, the customer is granted. I think this is not true anymore. We should educate more people as a citizen, but also as consumer, in order to, support the future trends of manufacturing. We should, if we talk about sustainability, this is fine. This should be done in the school, but I think this should be done with all the rest of the consumer. New business models are coming. Sharing economy, the circular economy. Those behavior, I think, should be enhanced, and this will be important to redesign supply chain. So this was the 10 key recommendations. I hope you enjoy them. You have this document. You find much more there because, of course, in 25 minutes, I couldn't address all the content and all the added value which is there. Let me just give you, because I need to thank all the people who have been supporting us. I'm here, but behind us there is a huge, large multinational team. More than 40 experts from more than 30 countries have been interviewed. We collect their ideas. The editorial board has been working with them, but we have been having the advisory board of the report, which is daily giving us suggestions. I see that a couple of them are here. David Romero is here. Jan Starr is here. and others. So let me thank all of them, and a special thank to the editorial board who really did the work and the job. Mark Cassidis is there, Federica is there, Saskia is also sitting over there, and thanks all the others who were there. Without them, this report will not be available for all of you. Thank you so much.